Don't you know, many fighters have been killed by the Starfighter.
Hey everybody, it's Merlin here, and once again, I couldn't figure out how to make this Skype recorder thing work, so we have the beautiful ZoroFanBoy with us in video form.
Yes, beautiful.
Hey man, happy to have you here. It's been a while since we have done a call together, actually.
It's been way too long, man. You know, anytime we're in a call, it's always a blast. It's always fun. It's always recorded. More often, absolutely.
Oh yeah, we'll try to get some more. I mean, I have a little confession, and I've been kind of slowly telling all my interview guests this. He's ready for it. Basically, I've been trying to get like everybody together with the Phantom group for a call, but we're like the past 6 months to a year, it's been virtually impossible to get us all together in a call.
Always get like 2 or 3 people like, yeah, I could do it, and then we never get it. It never doesn't get. Everyone's ready at different times, schedules. It's always a pain, very difficult. Mm-hmm. I think that would be a wonderful thing to do. All those guys. I'm a big fan of all of them. They all make fun stuff and are all good people. So I would always love to make another video with them. It's a shame we haven't gotten something going on recently, but I'm always I'm still doing the YouTube thing. I'm always there.
Yeah. No, I mean, absolutely. And the way I kind of looked at it was, basically until we can get everybody together, I'm going to see if I can track people down one at a time, and I can have you on my channel.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so got to reconnect a little bit. And anyway, I guess this is kind of a show, something like that. So I do have a few pre-prepared questions, and we did a little introduction. Now, Mr. ZoroFanBoy124. One thing that I have been doing with some of my guests that are YouTubers is I've been asking them the origin of their name. Now, I can't imagine what the connection with your name is, but if you please give us an explanation on the history of how you came to your name, what motivates you, because that will actually segue into the next question.
It's a very complex question, and really, people who are just people that are not really connoisseurs of YouTube or connoisseurs of what I do might just look at my name and take it at face value that I'm just some stupid fan of the character Zoro. But no, sir, that's not quite exactly where the name comes from. You see, I was more of a Sanji fan, and I saw though that more people liked Zoro, so I just pretended to like Zoro for all these years. In the poster, it's all fake. It's all just a facade that I use. It's all just not, just to trick people. But,
it's all a ruse.
I don't know why I'm revealing this to you now after all these years, but we're that close, I guess, that I'm willing to do that on this podcast. But
this random podcast. Well, I think, didn't you actually tell me you considered Vegeta fanboy once upon a time?
I did. He is one of my favorite characters. Things have changed since then. I'm not quite a big fan of how Super has treated him personally. So he's kind of fell off a bit for me. Nowadays it might be Guts fanboy124, but even so, I've always had favorite characters here and there. But my channel is mostly, obviously, One Piece related. So I picked my favorite One Piece character, and it's a silly name, all things considered. But I kind of wanted to make it so that it's something that people wouldn't forget, even if it was stupid. So I'll be like, oh yeah, what was that guy's name? It's easy to remember. ZoroFanBoy124.
All right.
124 is my birthday, 12/4, December 4th. So
yeah,
that might be something that people maybe didn't know. But,
no, I didn't know that actually. I mean, I'm just curious. You say that Zoro is your favorite One Piece character. Is that still as true as it always was? And if so, what is it about him you like so much, actually, that's kept him so up there among your favorites for so long?
He's definitely my favorite One Piece character, and it's not necessarily because he's the most complex or particularly well-developed character. He's pretty standard, and he fits a lot of the trope, cliches that you would get in a badass, right-hand stoic character. But I've always had, a really interest in samurai-type characters and swordsmen in general. Some of my favorite characters are swordsmen, and my favorite movie of all time is Sword of the Stranger, just so people would know that. So I just always liked swordsmen, and the gimmick with the 3 swords, I know it's a little campy and silly, but I always liked it. And he's just he is a kind of a, I don't want to say stereotypical character, but he falls into line with certain tropes and when it comes to manga. But I always felt like, despite that, he's always been handled well, all things considered. He has some ambition. That's something that I really appreciate, and I feel like he's never been necessarily handed anything. He's always had to work for it, and I always respect that. And yeah, I always felt like when it came to like taking things seriously, because Luffy being the captain, he's never really the serious one. He always messes around and does whatever he wants. But whenever it's time for someone to set him in line and set him straight to do the right thing, he's always been the voice of reason. Or most often than not, he's the voice of reason. And he's like, when things get serious, for example, when Usopp, betrayed Luffy, I don't know how far you've gotten in One Piece, Merlin, but Usopp kind of like, just wanted to leave the crew and there's a very dramatic situation during Water 7. And Luffy, when he learned that Usopp wanted to come back after their fight, Zoro was the one that stood up and said, no, he needs to come back and he needs to apologize if he really wants to come in. He can't just run all over you and then, just come back like nothing happened. You need to be able to step up and say, no, that's not acceptable. And he needs to apologize and be the one to apologize to you for everything that happened. So that's a very serious moment that kind of put him over the top for me. And then, of course, he's had some amazing particular situational moments, like him sacrificing himself for Luffy. That was my favorite One Piece moment in general. Just him kind of, I don't want to make this too long-winded because I can go on forever. You know me. But, for the longest time, his character was about his ambition, his goal. And, even when he first joined, he's like, if you ever get in the way of what I want to do, then I'm going to leave your crew immediately. He's alone. He's definitely an alpha wolf in a pack right now.
All right.
And, him kind of setting aside his goals and his dreams for the sake of Luffy and sacrificing his life for the sake of the crew was a very good moment for his character. And although not an amazing development, definitely a great moment in general. And then just everything that happened afterwards was just so badass and awesome. I just love his character. And, I feel like right now One Piece, at certain aspects, although it's really good last couple of chapters, has stagnated without him in the storyline. So I feel like he's a driving force as well. So that's my general reasons. I won't go any further.
No, that's good. You backed it up. Honestly, it's been a while since we talked, so I mean, I didn't know if it had changed. Actually, you might have just been keeping the name. But no, I remember the Usopp betrayal. It's kind of one of those really really heavy dramatic moments. But kind of Zoro kind of being the guy to sort of bring the team back together. It's a good point. I never really thought of it because he is kind of the tough guy with the strong sense of honor, but you're right. He is also very grounded, I guess, in that sense, because obviously Luffy's not the most mature character. And actually, that's one thing that's kind of different now that I think about it, comparison with Luffy, is a lot of times you have those immature characters, but they're still somehow the leader. Like people respect them a lot more. Whereas Luffy, I feel like a lot of the time he's just kind of there and people tolerate him. Like he's a great warrior, but he's not always the leader. I mean, actually, I guess it makes sense, but the best comparison, most obvious one is, Luffy is kind of the Goku, Zoro is the Piccolo. Like you've got one guy who's the figurehead, but you've got the other guy that's actually keeping everything together.
Yeah, and I mean, every Straw Hat has their own role to play. I mean, Luffy never, comes out and says like, look, I'm the one who's gonna, be able to have the strategies and tell everyone what they need to do. He basically during I think it was not Fishman Island, sorry, Arlong Park. He basically said, look, I can't cook, I can't fight with swords, I can't navigate, I can only do what I can do. All right, I know my limitations. I beat the shit out of people. That's what I do. And I like that was a good moment for him because he recognizes, like, look, I'm not here to be the thinker. I set in certain rules and I say certain things and I want it done. But you guys, have each role that I want you to go out and fulfill, and that's kind of the beauty of the Straw Hats. Everyone has their particular role in the crew that they're good at. The doctor, the swordsman, the chef, the archaeologist, the navigator, the mechanic. These are all things that you need to make up everything. All the pieces fit together. So, Luffy isn't necessarily
that's one of the main appeals of One Piece is the whole the teamwork dynamic of the crew.
Yeah, because if you made the comparison to Dragon Ball, but I feel like Dragon Ball, it's not a team effort. It's never, in my mind. I mean, there are certain moments where the team effort matters, like against Vegeta, for example. That was certainly a very.
That's honestly one of the few times where them teaming up mattered.
And against Cell, Vegeta helping Gohan out, defeat Cell, that was a big moment. But for the most part, it's more about individuals that kind of are larger than life, and it always comes down to Goku or Gohan. Or,
Unfortunately.
just the way that it goes. So I think it's very unique in that sense. I mean, there's always been like team-oriented shonen characters, like obviously Yu Hakusho is a good example of a cast that each and every one of them has an important role, or there are certain other examples of that as well. But I feel like although there are certain characters in One Piece that are part of the Strike crew that I feel like could get more developed, I feel like that their group dynamic is certainly something special in shonen that we don't see very often.
All right, no, I agree. Actually, that might be one of the strongest elements of it. All right, well, we definitely ran that question into the ground. Good job, Zoro. You expanded much more than I thought you would. Now, this one's a leap. This one, I don't know if you'll be able to handle this next question. So prepare yourself.
I prepare myself. Yeah.
For some people that may not know, I don't know if everyone on the channel know, but what exactly is your channel about? What do you do over there?
This is not hard to handle at all. I talk about One Piece pretty much 99% of the time. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like to branch out when I can. I'll do the occasional pickups video. I've recently done something where I've started reading this manga called Promised Neverland. I've been doing live reactions to the beginning of it all the way to I'm in the teens right now and doing chapter reviews. And oh my God, I love it so much. It's so well done. Merlin, if you haven't checked out The Promised Neverland, it's fantastic. I know you would love it a lot. I think it's up your alley completely.
I'll write it down now.
It isn't Shonen Jump, but despite it being a Shonen Jump series, it's not like your typical Shonen Jump series, in my opinion. I don't want to spoil too much because there are twists and turns all along the route that I've been on. It's been insanity. It's so good. It's so good.
Could you describe it for me?
Yeah,
what's it about?
Well, even if I get into even the end of the first chapter has like twists and stuff. I really don't want to spoil it.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
The main character of the series is a young girl, I think 12 years old. She lives in this orphanage with a bunch of other kids, and she has things that she has the way the world is very specific in the way that she sees it, and that automatically changes one day. And things just go from there, and it goes crazy. So I don't want to say too much. I don't want to.
All right, I'll definitely check it out, man. Absolutely.
Well, it's really well done.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely, man.
All right.
Everyone in the comments, also check it out, man. It's really good. Really good.
Yes, free promotion. Promise never.
I try to promote great series whenever I get a chance.
All right.
Really underappreciated ones, but yeah, One Piece is mostly what I do. I do chapter discussions and reviews and live reactions. I try to do a couple of prediction videos whenever I get the chance. And yeah, that's mostly what I do and what I'm known for. Although, occasionally whenever I get something that I'm really interested in, I'll talk about it or I'll tweet about it or something.
All right. Do you still do the Game of Thrones and Walking Dead stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, I technically I do, but I mean, that's not going to be around for another year or so. So, yeah, I want to wait for a year and check out my Game of Thrones reviews. I do Game of Thrones reviews with Anime Rick and others that I invite on. I love Game of Thrones as well. And also, I do technically review Vagabond, but that's been on hiatus forever. So,
oh, yeah.
whenever that comes back, who knows? But yeah, so Game of Thrones is the show, it has its ups and downs, but I do love talking about it. There's so much to dissect. That's the most interesting part of it for me.
I don't know. I don't think it's had too many downs. I think generally it's been pretty good. Though
the latest season it's been a little down for me.
Well, I mean, we won't expand on it too much, but just to give you my quick feelings on the last season, I'm overall enjoyed it, but like I still think Game of Thrones overall has been awesome consistently.
I agree.
But as good as it is, I kind of get the impression that they really are stretching things out, even from the books, kind of mostly being done, and then they're trying to get him to rush it. Like,
right.
I really like the show, but I really, the last season or two, I began to really start noticing how much they were backing it up from, let's just resolve this. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, they've gotten, the reason is because they got past the book. So now they're just making things up. And although there's kind of a cooperation with George R. R. Martin, it's still a situation where, they're making things up on their own now, as opposed to adapting something. You're immediately, being a creator as opposed to an adapter. And that's a big shift. And, the one thing about Game of Thrones up until when they were catching up is that, I never read the books up until me watching it. So I was always surprised at the things that were happening. and there was a lot of twists and turns along the way, and you never knew what was going to happen. Once they got past that point, though, I feel like now things are becoming a little bit more predictable. Unfortunately, they're becoming more standard, and nothing wrong with you being having cliches and whatnot. But, Game of Thrones, I never would have characterized as a cliche or standard or obvious or predictable in the past. I feel like just giving fans what they want isn't probably the best way of making good art, in my mind.
There's a lot of that going around these days, to be honest.
I mean, we're in a culture that just wants things recycled and refed to them. Why do you think every other movie is just a remade, older movie? No one wants to come up with new ideas or creative ideas.
Too true.
I know you know that, Merlin. You're the movie guy.
I believe me. I swear to. I feel like it's actually a little depressing, to be honest with you, because hell with it. I'll tell you. I mean, I still have like a passion and love for movies, but I don't know. I think maybe I reviewed so many of them for the podcast. Like there was a point there. I don't know how much you listened, but we reviewed like between old movies and new, sometimes up to 7 movies a week. And I think seeing so much crap and seeing so much mediocrity and seeing so much stuff that's safe and just noticing how everything's trying to be a big franchise now, it's maybe I'm a little jaded and cynical about movies. Like I try not to be, but it's harder to get as pumped up. Like let me give you an example. I mean, I think I told you before we aired that I usually go to see the Marvel movies. That's the primary movies I see with my friends, because I think they're generally good quality. And this might be a strange complaint, but though they're very good, they're census tested, obviously marketed. They all follow basically the same formula. They're good, but they're just kind of repasted versions of the same movie. Even the Marvel movies are kind of predictable if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's, and I don't want to think about that too much, but it can be a bit depressing. So I don't know. I'm hoping there's going to be more innovation. And to be honest, one of the reasons I sometimes hope for the superhero bubble to burst. I think that might open more possibilities for different movies, and like just to be surprised. Like you might go into a movie and just not expect it. I want to see more of that. But that's just my personal opinion.
I can completely understand that. Yeah, I mean, all things considered, when it comes to the Marvel movies, yeah. I mean, I do enjoy them. I got to be honest. They are predictable in many aspects. But I think they're still decent in terms of quality. I mean, you see DC trying to replicate the Marvel model, and it's not quite working. It's not an easy thing to do what they've done. So I'll give Marvel credit. Is that they're telling a story within a franchise, within a decade or longer period, which is not something that's ever been done, to my knowledge, in film before, which is certainly unprecedented. So being able to witness this, despite the fact that there are average bumps along the road, and you're just kind of like, that was all right. I don't see it necessarily as much in Marvel as I do in certain other franchises. Star Wars, for example. I feel like they're just pumping things out as opposed to really like trying to make a good story. I don't know if you want to get into that whole rabbit hole.
You know what, man? Fine. And this is the disadvantage of like being able to talk to people one at a time, because between my friends here on the channel and my friends on YouTube, I mean, I end up having the same discussions over months. No, it's fine. But like, you have to understand that I've been talking about The Last Jedi since it's been coming out now. But yes, please tell me your problems, The Last Jedi, and I'll tell you mine, because you're right. If there's an example of just playing it safe and just giving us the same stuff, I mean, there you go. But what did you think about The Last Jedi?
Wow.
You loved it.
Where to begin?
No, really.
I'll be honest. Like, I know some people really liked it. I know people who really liked it and will defend it to death. I don't know, man. It just feels like there's no heart. There's no heart to it. There's no risk taking. There's no ambition involved. The characters are just boring and not interesting. You expect the older characters literally got thrown out the window as sacrificial lambs to these new characters that have no charisma or I mean, some of them. I will say Finn for what they're giving the guy, man, he's doing the best he can. But God, that whole sequence with Finn was one of the worst things I've seen in film in a long time.
Save the animals.
Bad. It was
Base
bad,
Casino.
man. For me at least, like I said, this is all much in my personal opinion. If you like the movie, fine. But that whole sequence was just terrible.
Most people agree on that.
That romance, if you don't even call it a romance, that random kiss at the end. I don't really have much positive to say about that film. I feel like a couple of plot points that were just completely just tossed aside from the first film. The first film was not perfect by any standard of the imagination, but at least it was setting some interesting possibilities up that just got completely ignored. Maybe because of the fact that the directors were different first from the second. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the movie's trying to do. I definitely look forward to going forward. Maybe Han Solo movie is good. I don't know. That's about it. That's all I got to say.
Okay. You know what? Okay, a little more up to date, I guess. I don't want. This is still, you're still the guest, so I don't want to take over too much. But okay, we can talk about that because I haven't talked about it on the channel. The Han Solo movie trailer. Okay, very simply, man. Very simply, like pretty much all the other Star Wars movies that are coming out now, it looks like a well-made film. It'll probably be fine. Probably a fine film, I guess. But completely unnecessary. I have no interest in seeing it. I just don't care. Like, I don't care. I don't. Why do something different? Like, my friends and I want Knights of the Old Republic. Like, talk about a wealth of old stories that haven't been explored. Yes, nothing, that's been touched before. Get past the original trilogy. I love the original trilogy, but this is one of the advantages that Trek and a lot of other franchises have that Star Wars seems to have a problem with, at least for the general audiences. There's such a wide wealth of stories to tell that aren't just guys with lightsabers. I know they're cool, but there's much more to Star Wars than that.
It's like making a One Piece movie, or multiple One Piece movies, and never getting off the same island.
Exactly.
You have this massive world, this massive living, breathing world with all these interesting characters from timelines, going spanning thousands of years, and you just refuse to use any of them. Or in Disney's case, they just threw out a lot of it and said it's not canon, and now they refuse to even take a look in the past. So they even in the last Jedi, they're basically said these old books, who cares? They're not page turners. Although that Yoda sequence was good, I'll give them that. All right,
it was pretty good.
It was funny. But other than that, they're basically saying, as a meta narrative, that basically saying, who cares about these old people and their old ideas? Let's just move on. This is the new Star Wars. You're basically
remember, it's like the trailer said, man. Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. Do you get it, Zoro? Do you get what they're
being very subtle? I caught it. Very subtle.
Oh, just the finest writing. No, but in all seriousness, though, there are issues I could have with the new Star Wars movie. I didn't hate it completely, but my biggest issue with the new trilogy, and I'm curious to see what you think about this, the one cool thing, I think arguably the most iconic thing about the original series was Darth Vader. Just such a enigmatic villain, such presence. Kylo Ren.
They're trying.
Kylo Ren.
They're trying. I don't know what they were trying to do with Kylo. I don't know, man.
There were some interesting ideas there. I liked what they were going for, but still there wasn't that much explained even in this last one. And most importantly, they're building him up to be the villain. And I don't know if they're trying to make him irredeemable or not, but more importantly, he's just not intimidating at all as a villain. He's just not.
They're trying to make him somewhat likable in a way, somewhat redeemable. I mean, they missed two big boats, in my opinion. In the first film, having Rey beat him immediately took away a lot of his threat level. Him losing to Rey, it's she was barely a Jedi at that point. She didn't even train in the Force at all. She had no training, no ability to fight against other Jedi. Never in her life fought against another Jedi. And this guy was trained by Luke Skywalker, and he loses to her. Despite the fact that he was hit with the bowcaster, he should have been able to defeat her. No problem whatsoever. So that's the first boat that they missed. So now, why do I think he's a threat when he lost to her when he was weak? And she's a lot stronger for whatever reason. Still didn't get any training. Much stronger. Don't know how. Whatever. He's just stronger. Now Kylo Ren is having this is he good, is he not good situation, and I don't know. I can't really. There's no sense of danger with him because I just feel like after that situation, she's just too good now, and like I don't see how he's gotten any better to defeat her. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't want to make this too Star Warsy of a podcast, but I just
well, it's fine. It's fine. It's just I don't know. I'm so disappointed in the new movies. Like I think they're I want to say like okay, like on a positive note to end it with, I think The Last Jedi is one of the most technically beautiful looking Star Wars movies. Like it looks
visually, absolutely.
like visually it might be the best.
Newest movie, so of course it's going to be the nicest looking movie because it's newest.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, even though it's a visual medium, I don't want to get too bogged down by special effects. And I mean, that's even with anime. A lot of people, I think, too easily gravitate to how clean the animation looks and skip past the story.
Right.
I find a lot of the older shows, they might like Fist of the North Star, for instance. I know it's gritty animation, but there's something about that I find kind of charming that adds to the I don't know the tenseness of it all and the violent nature of it. And I don't know that might just be something of mine. I've always kind of liked that older, grainier quality. If things are too sharp and clean, like for instance, a lot of shows now, especially in the anime industry, I find that a lot of them look kind of the same, even character design wise, and it's less distinctive.
Anime is not safe from this whole just mainstream cookie cutter nonsense being pushed out. I think it's just as guilty of that as movies are nowadays. It's not necessarily nostalgia that's driving this. I don't know what it is necessarily, but I just maybe it's because I'm not really interested in those moe type genre. But I just can't help but feel every time I look at the new seasonal stuff that's coming out, there's just a lot of that cutesy, buy this product because you're gonna sell little plushies of this chick or something.
Yeah.
It's just meant to sell to people who are into that moe stuff, and that's not really what I'm trying to. That's not what I'm reading or watching anime for, or reading manga for. So I feel with anime, not necessarily manga, because manga you can be a little bit more free, especially if you're not boggled down by certain limitations from your editors. You can be a little bit more creative with your writing. But with anime, I just feel like they're on budgets. There's a reason why certain great mangas have not been chosen as animes because they necessarily, although they're great stories, they won't necessarily sell well. So that's why, in my opinion, series like Vagabond, Vinland Saga, they haven't gotten animes yet because although I think they would sell well, they're scared to do so. Scared to do so, and you can't really capture that grittiness. If you're televising it necessarily either. So it's hard, man. It's really difficult. I don't really know.
Yeah, I know. I mean, thankfully there were a lot of old gems that came through, and I think that ironically, that's kind of what got people interested in anime back in the day. Was kind of that we just kind of got random things that slipped through to pique people's interest, and so we got a lot of really interesting and bizarre stuff, and it wasn't always the best, but I don't know. Now we just kind of get everything, and they know there's an audience here, so they're trying to tailor it to something very specific.
Exactly. I'm not necessarily caught up to everything that's come out recently. I do my best to try to be, but I'm not always. But I could be wrong about this, but I can't help but feel like original anime have been suffering or haven't come out, because a lot of the good animes that we have seen so far or lately have been stuff that already had mangas that you can just adapt and it's good. A lot of the popular ones that I enjoy, My Hero Academia is a great example. Wonderful animation, great job on that. One Punch Man, and it's going up. They're all just adapting it. These aren't new titles that are new animations. It just feels like another thing where it's a lot easier to take something that's already been done and just rehash it than it is to create your own story.
I think that arguably that's kind of a good thing. Like I remember Parasite was kind of just this random manga that was considered a classic in the 90s that for years I kind of wondered, like, I'm surprised this wasn't an anime even with like a weird OVA or something, but then that got a newer adaptation and that was cool. And honestly, I think it's interesting that a lot of the biggest shows, I mean, you said My Hero Academia, One Punch Man, that's true, they had manga adaptations, but a lot of them had reboots. Like, I mean, obviously Hunter x Hunter and JoJo blew up real big, but technically they've had manga and anime.
Yeah, JoJo got a big boost, from the anime, because the anime just knew what to do. It just knew, like, you got to keep JoJo weird, you got to keep it colorful, the music's got to be perfect. They just nailed JoJo's anime adaptation perfectly. But I'm just saying, my point is, eventually you're gonna run out of great shows to adapt, and you gotta, you gotta find something new to bring out and bring to the table, and that's why I feel like the industry is just going what it knows and what it's safe, very safe, very safe.
Well, I mean, I guess they could always just produce more One Piece, right?
Well, Toei's always gonna make its money with One Piece. I don't really, I'm not the biggest fan of the anime. I just feel like Toei's not. They don't. Either they're overworking them and they're just like such a schedule where they're just pumping it out as fast as and the quality drops because of it, or it's just one of those things where they're going to make their money regardless. So why even put extra budget into it if they're going to make their money? It doesn't really matter. It's One Piece, right? So it's
That's true. That's true. I think we saw evidence of that in other shows. And I think it's once again kind of the recycling and feeding on nostalgia and giving people what they want a bit much. I mean, at least One Piece is still continuing an original story. I mean, I'm actually going to tell you this now because this is also a new confession, all kinds of new things on this random podcast. But I was really excited about the new Dragon Ball content years ago when I heard it was coming out, and I liked the movies. I mean, I was thinking like when Resurrection F came out, there might have been issues, but for me, it's funny because I was like, okay, this is a movie compiling pure fan service, the stuff that I imagined, the scenarios in my head. Literally, I remember discussing it with one of my friends just randomly, like, wouldn't it be cool if Frieza like came back with his army and they attacked Earth and everybody had to team up and they made it into a movie, and I was like, you know what? That's all I need. And then, okay, Dragon Ball is popular more so than it's ever been. So they're going to make a new anime. And I'm like, okay, cool. We're going to see new stories. And there's gods now, and there's alternate dimensions. And what I'm trying to say is that sometimes some things should just be left to the imagination. I think that I used to think Boo was where things went downhill. And I know I'm not trying to sound like a purist here because I'll admit I haven't seen all of Super because I just kind of stopped caring, and that's the worst thing.
Right.
I lost interest in it, like because it you want to talk about something that's boring and predictable and so rushed. Like if you're gonna do a tournament arc, make these battles interesting, make them last more than an episode. You have like multiple battles. Some of them were like what 3-4 minutes long.
I don't know why
Ridiculous.
I don't know why they chose to do this particular tournament that they're on right now. They did it like battle royale. Like there's no like individual matchup. It's all just everyone gets thrown into a ring, go. And
I hate that. No, I hated that. That was the biggest missed opportunity because I like the concept because when they selected the team, all these different fighters were picked for a certain reason. We could see them showcase, and that it wasn't all just about Goku and Vegeta. It wasn't always just about Goku and Vegeta just randomly powering up with lazy writing, and of course most of them don't even get to do anything. And once again, maybe that's just the evolution of the story because of the power, but I feel like even though there's entire universes being wiped out, they didn't spend enough time expanding on establishing the world, so I don't care. The stakes aren't there because I don't care. Right. And that's a missed opportunity. I'm sorry, but like that's really how I feel about Super. I just don't
want to make this podcast, at least in my end, to the Old Men Yell at Sky podcast. But that's kind of what I'm feeling like, because everything we seem to be complaining about. But I think these are justified, complaints, especially with Super, man. Super, I've been on record saying that it's trash, literally.
No, all right. Look, I can't say that I think it's trash. That's fine.
Because
you probably have seen more of it than I have.
The movie that you had moments for me which made me feel like I wanted to throw up. Like, at least the laser
was
beam.
Was it when Piccolo got beaten by a Zarbon level guy?
Yeah, that was exactly. And people forget about that. People focus on the laser beam. All right, and I focus on the laser beam. Fine.
Well, if you want to go technically, I guess you could say the movies aren't canon because they made arcs, which was also a dumb move because we've seen the movies. Why'd you expand into a whole arc, two arcs?
Yeah, I don't like they started the anime off with movies we've already seen, which makes no sense to me.
That was a waste of money, and that's why the like that. I mean, I guess the Goku Black arc was the most interesting one, but once again, kind of redoing the Cell stuff, kind of too short, you know. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
probably the best thing.
yeah. And then the ending wasn't that great, but all things considered, it was probably the best of the arcs. Yeah,
But no, please.
like what's happening now, although I'm not really keeping up with it. People saying, Vegeta's getting a cool moment. He's gonna lose. He always loses before the end. I'm not really worried about that. I don't know. I've already talked a lot about Dragon Ball Super on my channel. It just honestly makes me sad. I was never I'm like Merlin. Like Merlin, I know you're a humongous Dragon Ball fan.
Yeah.
I can't really proclaim that I've always been Manu style Dragon Ball fan. I've always liked it. I've always enjoyed it, but it never was one of my top things that I've really enjoyed. So the nostalgia wasn't completely blinding me from the start, and it just doesn't do enough for me. It does not do enough for me.
Oh no, I mean, don't get me wrong. I know Dragon Ball has its problems, and I could totally see them, obviously, but I still enjoyed them. And I mean, I just think that it took honestly the laziest aspects of the series and just kind of went with them, and that's just kind of what Super mostly is. You know, it's mediocre. I think, to be honest, just a lot of mediocrity.
People love it. People love it. So if it's mediocre sells, why try doing doing better?
Well, if there's another power up, another that's the stuff that I always hated. I mean, but for me, man, the thing that stuck with me and the reason I liked the series was I liked the world and I liked the characters. I liked the story actually. At the end of the day, and I mean the fighting and the powers were really cool, definitely a draw, but they didn't make Dragon Ball for me. That's only a part of it. I think people are just getting too swept up in, the basic stuff.
Yeah. A lot of people just really liked it for its powers and fighting. I think it's a lot for a lot of people that I know, a lot of fans of anime that are not really big fans of anime, but like Dragon Ball and maybe Hakusho or something. They're just like, oh, the fights are so badass, and that's all they care about. And that's what honestly, we're in the minority, I think, ultimately, in terms of why we watch Dragon Ball. I think a lot of people just want to see fights and want to see their characters and go, ah, and do cool things. So I mean, like for example, like there was a part in this arc where Goku, went into a super new mode and he did this cool maneuver and dodged a blast and then beat the girl or whatever, right? And everyone was losing their effing minds. I don't know if I can curse on your podcast. Losing their effing minds over it, and just going nuts and reposting and retweeting everywhere about it. And I'm like, did you not watch the last 6 episodes? It's been absolutely horrible. Like you swam through 10 miles of garbage to get to a small talent that you're going to be on for 2 minutes, and then you're going to jump back into the garbage.
Are you talking about when he teleported behind the massive beam and beat the girl? Is that what you're talking about?
He didn't teleport. He was doing a Kamehameha in his new form, and he surfed on it
oh yeah, yeah. I did see that. I thought that was cool, but that's not going to save the show for me.
It was a cool moment, but literally 4 or 5 episodes leading up to that, it was just terrible. Characters we didn't care about from other universes. The animation was disgusting. It was boring, and everyone loses their mind because one cool thing happened, and that's what people care about. They're like, oh, look at the YouTube video of this really cool moment, and they don't realize that the episode is 24 minutes. Because yes, one cool thing happened over the course of 24 minutes. Am I supposed to be impressed?
I don't know about you guys, but I don't have that kind of time to waste on stuff that disappoints me.
Frustrating. It really is.
No, it is. It is.
I stopped watching.
Well, dude, I guess I'll have to have you on again sometime because you have gotten me angry about 2 things, in one cast. Like
I'm sorry.
You touch the funny bones. Like I'm not.
I wasted a lot of your time. I apologize.
No, it's fine. It's actually fine. I don't get a good chance to rant about these things too often. But all right, dude, we've been going about a half an hour or so now. So I'll tell you what, we'll talk a few more minutes because we never did technically get to the next question, but that's fine because we kind of answered anyway. Is there any final stuff you'd like to talk about before we sign off?
Oh man, that's on my mind recently.
Yeah, anything any shows you've been watching you want to talk about? Anything that's been movies? Any things you want to ask me about? I don't know.
I wish Hero was here to talk about it, but the last thing I was watching was Devilman, Crybaby that came out.
Devil
Devilman. Yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts on it. I'm mixed in my opinion. I mean, it had some great shining points, but I haven't read the manga, so I'm only going based off of what I saw in the anime. There was some good moments. It just felt really rushed.
Well,
and I think episode 5 or episode 6, things just took a turn and just never looked back. And I don't think it was. I don't think that was necessarily a good thing. First 4 or 5 episodes, everything was good. After that, it just kind of went crazy.
Well, yeah, that's actually the consensus I think a lot of people have been giving, and I actually think, well, in a sense, it's actually very true to Devilman because, I mean, I'll be honest, with my experience with Devilman, like I was trying to look at it and say, how close are they really adapting the atmosphere? And in terms of capturing the dark exploitation, super violence, they got it. And the thing I actually liked about it, which was surprising, is it was gritty, but the animation they chose was just so stylized, and there was a lot of meta humor, and it was very self-aware, like making fun of even like the references to all the Devilman stuff I liked. And because I loved the OVAs, the fact that they literally made fun of the Devilman. Remember, for years I was always like, yeah, and he does that every episode, and I was like, that's awesome. They're totally channeling that moment everyone remembers. Yeah. So I liked that sense of it. I think the direction they chose, I think because they had to cover a lot of ground in a short time, the series was a bit too fast paced. Like, if you didn't know anything about Devilman, I think you'd be kind of confused. And those first couple episodes, it was just kind of going through the motions. He's fighting monsters. You're acting like you have 26 episodes, and then boom, they hit you with the plot. And I can understand some people not liking it. They definitely rushed some things, but in all honesty, based upon the manga, it's very, very similar to it. It's a very dark story that doesn't have the happiest ending.
In terms of the tone, I loved it. I love the tone. I love the grittiness. Not afraid to do crazy things, take crazy risks. I don't know how well it was adapted. It just felt like there probably was more there that they could have stretched into at least in 21, maybe, I don't know, 16 episodes, maybe, or even less.
Probably.
But it's just one of those things where when deaths did happen to important characters, I won't spoil it. But when deaths do happen to important characters, especially very important characters, you don't have the attachment, to these characters because you haven't spent enough time with them to really care if they die. So as much as I'm like, oh man, they killed so and so, I'm like, whatever. It doesn't really have the impact. And if they would have kind of spread out some of the violence, I guess, throughout the series, as opposed to just basically just going to a gore fest after a certain point, it would have had more of emotional impact, because after like a couple of deaths, you're just kind of desensitized to all of it, and you're like, well, at the end of it, you're like, it was a good twist. It's a good twist, and what happened, was definitely impactful, but it just didn't have the impact it could have had, in my mind.
No, I understand what you mean.
They did a good job, though. I think for the time that they were given, I think all things considered, it was entertaining and good. I give like maybe a 7 or 7.5. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's not perfect, but I think it's just kind of good to see that classic character get a full proper anime for once. Like, I was kind of just happy about that, because he's had some OVAs and he's had some guest appearances, and then there was that Cyborg 009 thing, which I didn't particularly like very much. So I mean, I'm glad they gauged enough interest to actually give Devilman an anime that was mostly pretty true to the atmosphere of the manga and the themes and mostly the story. So, I mean, for the most part, I liked it, but I just think that it was a bit too rushed. And I understand what you mean. The impact could have been stronger had they fleshed out more of the characters. It was just kind of like, bad thing happens to him. He's a monster. She's dead. It's just, but you barely know them.
But I'm curious, like, in the vein of a Devilman or a JoJo's or Cyborg 009, is there an older series that you want to see give that new treatment?
Older series that I want to see get that new treatment? Actually, yes, there is.
Okay.
I can think of two. Well, there are these two older shows, and I don't know how popular they are. One was like a weird OVA I saw years ago. It was called Ogre Slayer. And basically, it's just, a guy who's I guess he's half human, half yokai, whatever, and he just goes around fighting ogres. But it was like really, really dark and creepy. It was one of those gritty '90s OVAs, and I was like, seeing that get a modern version would be pretty cool. And another one of my one of my favorite shows. Actually, it's the first real anime I ever watched. Techno Man, aka Tekka Man Blade. Um, no lie, he's a guy. There's like this intergalactic, far future where humanity's fighting against this alien force, and there's these weird monsters, and they're all ruled over by these cyber warriors. Basically, they're like guys in little mech suits. So they're mini mech people. They're just guys that they transform into robots. And he's like the one guy that broke away and is just defending humanity. It's really cheesy, but in the vein of JoJo and stuff like that, I'm like, if this was remade, I think it would be great. But if you ever have the time, check it out. I should review it for my channel because it's you have to you have to watch the old dub because
Oh no,
it's one of the worst dubs.
is it worse than
But
Death Man?
it's on that vein. Like God, like they'll be like, oh no, how could you do that? No, but let me just give you an idea. There is a character. He was a human spy, and his name was Balzac. Okay, he was Balzac, and I can never get past
anime
that.
that I watched. Oh my god, there's an anime I watched. I was at, I forgot what it, maybe Anime Expo. I was with some of the other reviewers, and there was an anime that they showed, and the main character was a girl named something Balzac, and we were laughing our ass off. I forgot what anime it was. If anyone knows in the comments, please tell me. Oh man, I completely forgot. I gotta ask them. It was pretty entertaining, but yeah. I always want to see just kind of on that vein.
All right, dude. Well, I gave you 2, so now you got to give me at least 1.
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
Although it already had an anime adaptation, I feel like it would be good if we got to see an Ashita no Joe anime, proper, well animated Ashita no Joe anime. I really enjoyed Joe when I was watching it, but it definitely is aged quite a bit. The audio is like it's it feels like, I don't know, it's mono or something. I don't know what the sound is. It just sounds weird. It's just
Yeah,
it's an odd sounding audio. Yeah.
a lot of the older shows have like notoriously bad audio quality. Like you're actually right. A lot of Japanese anime, I think from the 80s and before, was recorded in mono, which is why you've got, I think, the shifting of the sound, and there's always that like low hum. It's always kind of there. It's just what they had.
Right, and nothing against it for its time. It's still a great series, and I just feel like if they gave that because obviously Hajime no Ippo is so popular, and even that anime is pretty old, although they're constantly coming out with new stuff. I feel like if you gave just brand new Joe from the beginning, his character is really interesting, and he's a bit of an asshole. I feel like he'd be endearing to a lot of, not a bit of an asshole. He is an asshole, especially in the beginning. He is a
he's a
asshole.
He's a bad person. He like screws over his coach like so many times. Like he's bad.
I feel bad for that coach, man. I just feel bad for him, man. But man, I just feel like there would definitely be a massive audience for that. I definitely feel like it. The sports anime, very popular nowadays. Haikyuu's big. Diamond Oasis is big. Obviously, Slam Dunk in its day was very big. There's definitely an audience for boxing, especially too. So I think that would be a big hit, and I think that if it was given its proper dues, it would be great in today's animation. So that'd be my guess.
No, I agree, man. That's a good choice. I am actually kind of surprised there hasn't been more. But you're right. With Evo being as popular as it is, it'll be the perfect time to give Joe an adaptation for sure.
Definitely, man. Absolutely.
Give him something a little more fluid than, what was it, 1972 or something?
It was old. It was the way it sounded like it shouldn't have been in color, but it was.
No, though to be fair, that and Lupin, even though they're really old, they're pretty well animated for the time. Actually, pretty for the time.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I've seen shows that have come out much more recently with worse animation sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, at its worst, Dragon Ball Super was disgusting to look at.
Oh yeah, the backgrounds and stuff sometimes.
And some of the characters. I mean, You know, even if you don't screenshot, because screenshotting isn't necessarily the best determination of if an animation is good. They're looking in motion. Some of the motion of the characters just felt stiff, and I mean, you know, and of course, Berserk 2017.
Oh,
We don't have to
oh,
that.
oh,
Clang, clang.
oh, God. Another, you know, I have to believe it's cheap. You know, never mind. They, I, that was the worst. That was the worst. Like I couldn't watch it. What was I? What did they do to Guts? What they?
I love Berserk so much. I mean, you have to fuck. You would have to mess things up so badly for me to have zero interest in your anime, and they found a way to do it, man. I watched the first episode. I'm like, give it a chance. Second episode, can't do it, man. So I mean, the 3D. I don't know what their obsession is with this 3D with Guts. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
I don't know, dude. Like I was happy once again that there was an adaptation, but like it's not necessarily that I can't get past the 3D, because sometimes the 3D can be decent, but that wasn't it. That was just, everybody looked so robotic. It was creepy.
Right.
It was really creepy.
And the movies weren't horrible. I'll give the movies credit. The movies had great moments, and you know, it was very condensed, but they were movies. Yeah, that's understandable. And the animation at times was on, off, but also on it. You know, there were some good moments with the 3D. So, you know, I'm not necessarily saying all 3D is bad. It's just, if you're going to not give a shit and you know, considering the source material and how beautiful that source material is, you're just doing it a disservice. You're being insulting to the source material. And people who don't know anything about the manga are going to watch the anime and be like, why would I ever want to read something, you know, if it looks as bad as this looks?
Yeah.
It hurts it more than it helps it, honestly. I really think that.
I forget. Once again, I think this came up in a recent podcast, but yeah, I think we made the determination that, you know, to this day, I mean, if you want to watch an anime for Berserk, still 97? Go back to the 97 one.
97. As filthy as that is in its own right, because of the limited budget they have with the animation, it just had the essence. It had the essence of Berserk, man.
Yeah, it literally had the manga panels. Like, let's save on animation here. Look at this. Look at this manga panel. He's fighting a guy right now. But you know what? I was okay with that. I was okay with that.
Great music.
Great music.
I still listen.
Backgrounds of
I still listen.
audio drama.
To this day, I play Forces or the Guts theme.
Oh,
like, beautiful music.
Oh yeah. I'm guilty of getting I'm guilty of zoning out to a few Forces AMVs in the past. It's just such a good, the remix version. Oh my god, that seriously, the music, the soundtrack for Berserk is really great. You're right.
And, you know, it had the gritty look of what Berserk should have. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it had problems, but yeah, all things considered, the 97 is the best way. That's how I got into the manga personally.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great introduction, and I mean, as good as the movies are, I mean, there are some things they cover, thankfully, but I mean, if you want to get everything fleshed out, at least for the, you know, the Golden Age arc, I mean, that's a really great introduction. I think if you don't like that anime, you're not going to read the manga.
Yeah. It's a good promotion, like read the manga.
like a lot of anime are, you know. Hey, here's the beginning.
It's basically like, screw you, read the manga. You want to know what happens next, do you? Read the manga. It's like, shit.
Yeah. Wait 20 years and you get a bad anime. Still read the manga.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I can't think of any older series, man. I mean, there are probably a lot of good ones, but, you know, Hero's more of the older connoisseur of good older series to read. Mm-hmm. So I'd say he'd probably know more than me, but I would love to see Joe, personally.
Oh, definitely. But
Kenshin remake would be good too.
Oh yeah. Kenshin's one that comes up a lot. I think just to maybe adapt some of the arcs that they didn't get to do in the first show. I think, you know, actually, I don't really mind the old anime that much, but I think it needs a Kai treatment. You know, like clean it up, condense it. You know,
definitely that would work better with Kenshin, because I feel like there's a lot of meat, fat to cut off with Kenshin.
Actually, you know, okay, one last question before you go. Do you think that they should do that with Hakusho? Because that comes up a lot, and most people are like, nah, not really.
A new anime for Hakusho?
Yeah.
Like or a Kai version, you mean?
I maybe completely new animation because I don't really think that one needs a Kai one because it's already pretty solid in terms of story. I think.
I think its animation holds up. I really don't think there's any need for a new one. I mean, it'd be great to have a new one. Don't get me wrong. If they do it right, if they give it the Madhouse Hunter x Hunter version, of Hakusho, I think that by all means, go right ahead. But I don't think it necessarily needs one. I think it holds up. I mean, there's Blu-rays out for it. It wasn't that old. It's not that old, all things considered. Give it another decade, we'll see. But right now, I think it's fine, dude. It's really good.
All right. Well, that's a good note to leave off on. Not all the negativity of. Let's see.
I don't have a lot of faith. Well, I'll go back to negative. I don't have a lot of faith in these anime studios. No, I was kidding.
Oh man, freaking Star Wars and Dragon Ball and fucking Berserk, just like couldn't let these things go. Like
I hate to be that guy that complains all the time, but it's good talking to you about this because I didn't get a chance to discuss Star Wars on my channel or anything like that. So I had all this kind of like my friends I did, but in the channel I'm just kind of have those little internal like I want to talk about it, but it's not what the channel's about, so I'm not gonna.
Well, you can always. I know you're the One Piece guy, but I know you could always feel free to just do a random video like, hey, look.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I'm sure you got Star Wars fans on there. Everyone likes Star Wars, right?
Well, if I do have Star Wars fans, they'll just dislike because they probably like the movie. Because I mean, despite I mean, I don't care about dislikes, all things considered, but despite the fact that we're discussing this, like I'm not really happy about it. The like and dislike for that movie is pretty much 50-50. I mean, it's either you love it or you hate it. There's not many in betweens that I've seen so far. So it was just a bit.
Well, I mean, as good as there were things about it, I wouldn't watch it again. Personally.
There are some people that made it like an hour and a half videos of just going through every reason why it stunk that did a better job of discussing it than I did. So I'm like, it's no point.
That's fair. Yeah, but yeah, I've talked about it so much at this point. I'm just like, yes, Last Jedi, it's not that great. It's not that great, honestly. But that's okay.
They try to do something.
They try to do some different things, but not enough, actually.
No, it's people say they were so they're trying to take chances. They were not trying to do the same thing, the same family storyline. They're trying to mix it up. But the fact of the matter, every choice that they made was just it seemed like it was made in a for a what do they call it, a focus group. It didn't seem like they really. I mean, just because you do something somewhat different and you take all the expectations that you built up as a movie and throw them out the window, that doesn't mean you're making like bold decisions or anything like that. It's easy to be like, those build up that we had that we got you excited for. Nah,
No, you're right. That's not necessarily good writing. That's just not expanding anything.
And people are like, oh God, look what a risk takers they are. Like, no,
no, actually, I'll tell you what. Following through on some of those things, and making some changes maybe to the lore directly from the past, that would have been risk taking.
Yeah.
Maybe learn something about Obi-Wan we didn't know, or maybe something about Palpatine we didn't know. Like, like who's really related to who was really the good guy in this situation. Seriously, twist the light dark side thing, but that would, make it too complicated for Star Wars. So
yeah.
Seriously, it would. I mean, that's not why people go to Star Wars. People don't go to Star Wars, I think, to
we want a good guy and we want a bad guy. That's it. You don't want
good guy, bad guy. But that's the appeal of it, and that's fine. But once again, I think people are kind of praising it a bit improperly for that. You're right. Yeah. All right, dude. Well, I am going to cut this off now. But I'll tell you what, if you're interested and I can nab you again, I'd love to have you on as a guest sometime to talk about other things that we like and hate, apparently, mostly hate about the things we like.
And I was expecting to be on here being like, oh, this is great. And I was like, no, why do all these kids nowadays don't know what they're doing? No, I had a blast. This is a lot of fun, man. I got to thank Merlin, man. People out in the comment section might not know this, all right? And might not care, for that matter. But Merlin got me into my hobby that I've been kind of going into a little bit nowadays, and that's D&D. So thank you to Merlin who got me playing Dungeons and Dragons. I always, had the prejudice against it. Didn't really know what was. I was like, give it a chance. Try playing a game with us, and I did, and we had a lot of fun. And now I'm running my own game. So thank you to Merlin for getting me into D&D, man. I never got a chance to thank you properly for that.
Oh no, man. I'm still in the chat on Skype, so I see you guys. You get together pretty much every Saturday in game. That is awesome, dude.
Yeah.
No, I'll be honest. I'm actually really happy about that because I remember you must have gotten a little interested in it. Yeah, I ran a couple. I remember I ran like a Berserk themed game for a little bit,
Yeah.
and then you guys started doing your own thing. You got some more people in. That's awesome, dude. I'm glad you're loving it. Are you guys using what, fifth edition or something?
Yeah, fifth edition, man. There's a lot of interesting books that came out. It's fun. It's just a lot easier. I mean, I like Pathfinder. Don't get me wrong. Pathfinder is really fun. I enjoy it. Very complex.
No, well, in all honesty, that's fine. I've heard fifth edition is catered to people starting out, so if it works for you, that's great. It's just Pathfinders. My friends and I have been using it for so
Yeah,
long. It's just the system I'm used to, you know.
yeah,
Um, which for you people out there that may play, it's basically just D&D 3.5. You know, for people that don't know. But yeah, I took kind of a break from gaming for a little bit just because I've been so busy. But I actually got back into it, and I think we're doing our games on Saturday now, so
nice.
that's another reason why I can't go on as much. But maybe I'll pop by at some point. I don't know.
Hey man, I always got NPCs you can play. So if you ever want to jump in, we'll figure something out for you, man. Absolutely.
Oh, I mean, I can role play anything. I mean, I can roll with it. I could literally roll with it anyway. But let me ask you this though: are you open enough about it to ever do like a stream on your channel or something? That would be pretty cool to see.
I don't know if there's an audience for it necessarily in my channel. I mean, I know that there's definitely an audience within the ether for people to watch it, but I don't know if my channel is necessarily the best platform to show it. I would love to play a 5e game. Maybe if I can get a couple of other YouTubers that want to try it for the first time and start a game for them. The thing about that is, like, you know, I know some D&D purists out there can be like, you don't know what you're doing, which I don't.
Well, no, look. Let me give you a little piece of advice as a player and DM for 3 years, and I'll be honest, I don't know all the rules. You know, I don't play all the rules. There have been some rules that we don't necessarily pay attention to because, like, for instance, technically in Pathfinder, this is getting really nerdy. You know how you roll and you do a critical roll and that's a crit. You do all the extra damage.
Right.
Technically, I believe in some versions of Pathfinder, you have to roll again to confirm your critical.
Roll again?
Yes. Yeah, you have. If you crit, you have to actually roll again to actually crit.
You have to crit again on the next roll?
Essentially,
you get 2 crits in a row in order to crit.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Yeah. There's actually, we've been kind of like, my version's kind of flexible, but so what I'm trying to say is you can house rule stuff if you're DMing and you want to like say, hey, you role play this, you get this ability, this +1 thing, you know, whatever. Like, just the way I say it is just try to reward your characters and come up with your own ideas within a general rule. That's the way I do it.
No, we've been having a lot of fun, and you know, the characters are good to me in terms of not you know, hating on me or let me do my thing. You know, generally speaking, when I DM, it's just, you know, DMing in front of a group, you know, 5-6 people is one thing, but doing it in front of, like, you know, however many would watch, it would be another, you know, a little bit more pressure on my shoulders. But
I think so.
If people would like to see that, I would have a lot of. I mean, if you ever wanted to play like a one shot or something, do a one shot stream where I run a one game. I use you know, we do online. We do games online, so it's a lot easier. We could just screenshot or screen share rather the website that we use, which is Roll20. If anyone, you know, has never played D&D before and wants to like be a new player in a new game, there's like there's definitely games out there that are catered to new people, and you can find people really easily. And everything is, you get digital maps you can use and tokens. It's so easy to use. I tried playing in person once. It was just a mess. I didn't have. It was just much more chaotic. But not to get too long-winded here. I think that you guys should go out and give it a chance because, you know, despite maybe some preconceived notions some might have, it's a lot of fun. Games nowadays, although I do enjoy quite a number of games, I just feel like with D&D, the creativity that you can have in creating your own character and your own like story and everything is just, there's no limit to it. Literally no limit. You can run a game tomorrow about space. You can run a game tomorrow about Star Wars. We did a Berserk game. You can do literally anything you want within these rules, and it's limited only to your imagination, which I find fascinating. So, a lot of fun.
No, that's an awesome way to end it, man. I'm really happy you're liking it. Absolutely, that's cool, dude. That's really cool.
All the damn books over here. Oh, let me
show them off.
books, got the 5th edition Dungeons Master's Guide, I got the new book, I got all these damn things over here.
Oh man, he's investing into it. I love it. I love it.
Manual, man. I got everything, man.
That's so awesome, dude. That's sweet. I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
It's a lot of fun, man. You got to get into 5th edition. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, maybe if I can, we'll see.
Yeah, that's a no. That's like
But yeah, dude, that's awesome to hear actually. And well, on that positive note, I will leave it, and I'm gonna say goodbye. So say goodbye, Zoro.
It's a lot of fun, Merlin. Got to do this more often. Thank you to the chat and everyone out there. Like and subscribe to my man Merlin if you haven't already.
And I know, right? Who wouldn't? All right, everybody, stay mad.